So just under a year ago, we were batting down the hatches, that's a Navy term, batting down the hatches for the storm of the century. It was unlike anything we'd ever seen. My way of helping at the time, and today, remember, we're here to talk about how does the government help? What is the government's role in this, and especially the federal government? Todd and I are running for a federal seat. Back then, my way of dealing with it was volunteering with the first organization that would take me, Team Rubicon. I want to share with you a little bit of what I saw there. It was really incredible. First of all, it's a great organization. I'd highly recommend supporting them. They operate all over the country. We would meet at 7 a.m., we'd get our tools together, and we'd go to a house that had requested assistance, needed help mucking out, needed help throwing out drywall, flooring, whatever it was. One lady didn't have her husband around anymore. He was a Vietnam veteran. He had just died. To help her clear her entire house. Another home hadn't been touched for weeks. We had to wear biohazard suits and go in there. This family was so grateful by the work that people were doing. And I want to say something else. This volunteer group had people from all over the country coming in. And they noted something. They always talked about it. They said, because they'd worked other disasters with Team Rubicon, and they said, Texans do it differently. Texans understand what it means to come together and help your neighbor, pick yourself up and move forward. Texans are a get-it-done, grit and resilience type of people. We understand that individual attitude, that sense of perseverance, that sense of personal responsibility is the core of being American. It's the core thing that allows our society to thrive. Of course, that comes with some expectations. It comes with the expectation that our tax dollars go to a good place, and that they're spent effectively, and that our government is there to protect us when we need them the most. That's what we're talking about today. What we need to ask ourselves as we look at this problem is what infrastructure is needed, where is it needed, who takes the lead, who is held accountable for that. There aren't simple answers to those questions. The reality is that it's a mix of local and state and federal. There's different solutions for different parts of Houston. All right, we're in an area right now that has very different problems from Lake Houston. And there's different solutions associated with that. So today we're going to talk about some of those. I will say first that I will absolutely be voting for the bond, along with Todd. We should do it together. This is the one show of bipartisanship that we might have. I'll be voting for that for a couple of reasons. One specific to this region. Within that bond is funding and money to update a study that occurred in 2003 to update the tributaries in this area, which directly caused flooding. So maybe that's expanding those tributaries. Maybe it's building additional detention ponds. That is essential for this area. I highly recommend you vote for it. The other big reason is because that unlocks federal funding, which we absolutely need to fix this problem. It is going to be a mix of local, state, and federal funding, and we need to unlock that federal funding by voting for this bond. There's two prongs to how government helps solve this problem. The first one is helping people recover in the first place. The second is making sure that it never happens again. I'll talk very briefly about how you help people recover. Because it's also in a booklet that I'm passing out to everybody where you can get into more detail. The first thing is we rely on our churches and nonprofits that have helped us so much through this. And we support them. And we understand their role. The second thing, cut some of the red tape. Let FEMA actually help people. Provide those temporary allowances for waivers, or those conditional waivers to allow FEMA to actually get the money to people more quickly. And stop this federal payer of last resort practice. It basically allows federal agencies to sort of wait someone out until another federal agency takes charge instead so they can save their money. There's probably a better way to do this. We need to be looking at those kind of solutions. I'm going to talk about 5 different things that we should be talking about from the federal level, that I should be talking about as your representative in Congress. The first thing, it's understanding the latest developments. With respect to engineering and the planning process, it's understanding the details. It's going out and learning. What you'll see here, and what you'll see in a lot more detail on the booklets that I hand out, are some of the basics from those findings, from talking to the experts, from having them help me understand what I actually need to be fighting for. That's the first thing. Get the knowledge first. That's in the western Houston area. This is what we'll be looking at in the Lake Houston area. And actually, I would add one more to this, which was brought to my attention recently. We talk about often how the Lake Houston during the storm, the spillway was largely working as it should in the southern end of Lake Houston. But despite that, in north of Lake Houston, there's a good 7 or 8 feet higher water level. Well, it turns out that if you look at the 1960 bridge, it's about a 7,000 foot long bridge. Only about 1,600 feet of that allows water to pass under it. It's the definition of a bottleneck. Problem solving. Solution finding. That's what we're talking about here. I'm going to go back to this slide because this is our area that we're in right now. The second thing, it's leadership. It's getting the right people in the room, making a plan, executing, figuring out who's accountable. Kind of your basic military problem solving. And I've done this a lot. And I've done it with the Army. Those relationships aren't always perfect. Navy, Army. But that's how we work together. I have a pretty good understanding of bureaucracy that they work in. A lot of you were here for her presentation. You can tell that they're dealing with mountains of bureaucracy. It's not as easy as just deciding you're going to do something and do it. That will be my job. Understand what their obstacles are, not in a combative way, but in a cooperative way. I admit that sometimes when I was in the military, maybe it was a little combative because they wouldn't let me do what I wanted to do, but this is a cooperative way. That is a huge part of what it means to be in Congress. Understand the obstacles that they have to deal with in order to get to the end solution, help you understand what they're dealing with, and get it done faster. One thing she mentioned, and one thing that we'll probably talk about more, maybe Matt will discuss more, was the Bipartisan Budget Act, which actually appropriated and authorized the study for what could end up being the third reservoir. Right, but this is a 3-year study, supposedly. So it's my job to be your voice and probably say something along the lines that you probably don't have to tell me. I assume you're going to say 3 years is too long. Then I have to understand, why is it 3 years? Why is it taking so long? Why can't we get these answers sooner for solutions that we feel are the right ones, and they might have other answers for that? It's my job to be the go-between there in a cooperative way with the Army, despite the fact that they beat us twice in football this past year. Forgive that. Third, this is really the real role of Congress in this problem. Third is being deeply involved in the passing of the Water Resource Development Act, which occurs about every 2 years. There's one that passed the House already this year. I'm hearing good things about it from the Harris County Flood Control District. That our Texas delegation has been doing a great job, by the way, getting our needs into that water. The WRDA is the acronym for it, Water Resource Development Act. That's going to be crucial. No matter what committee you're on, if you're part of the Texas delegation, especially in this area, you have to be intimately involved with that legislation, making sure that your voices are heard in it, making sure that the projects we care about are in there. The fourth thing, I would call it processes and regulation. And this goes back to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and understanding what they deal with. You know, is the work plan that they have to deal with when basically they get authorized from Congress and that goes through the OMB and the executive branch, is that really a reasonable process? Or do we find that what Congress, which is the people, are asking for, gets meddled with in that process? Well, that's actually what it does look like to me, and maybe that's something we need to change. And the regulations, we think we need to reduce the national approach to environmental reviews and permitting processes. We have to look at a more regional and local way of permitting. Sometimes these things take years, and for what reason? Regulations and permitting that might be appropriate for the Great Lakes or Louisiana don't work in Houston necessarily. We have to have that local control. And the last point, the fifth point, I would say is how we need to focus on the federal flood insurance program. There's been some good reforms passed in the House recently that are not yet made into law. I would absolutely support those reforms. They're examples of good governance. They're examples of opening up the market to more private insurers, making it more competitive, reducing the incentive to build in places we shouldn't be building, and to constantly rebuild homes in the same exact location. That's killing the taxpayer. Those are the things I think we need to look at, because I think the essence of what we're trying to do is solve our problems here together in a responsible way that helps us and helps the taxpayer. I took an oath over 10 years ago, 12 years ago, to defend the Constitution from foreign enemies. And that hasn't changed. That hasn't changed one bit. There's still a lot to protect the people of this country from, the people of this district from, and flooding is absolutely one of them. And will absolutely be your voice in Congress. Thank you for listening.